We finished till what verse? We
Three
finished till
point,
what?
33 completed, Mataji.
yeah, 3.30.
No.
3.33.
33 is completed.
33 is completed. Okay.
0.33 we finished.
Oh,
Okay.
3.33, yes.
Yeah, thank you. Um. Okay. So Krishna, up till 35, 1735, he's still explaining the Karma Yoga. And then from 36 onward, the explanation of lust starts. Uh, so we studied last week that what are the differences between a person who is on the transcendental platform versus a person who is an atheist or non-devotee. Krishna elucidates the biggest difference is that a person who is on a transcendental platform is without envy. I was explaining, I remember that envy has no antidote. There is no antidote for envy. Hare Krishna, lust has an antidote that, okay, if somebody is unlimitedly lusty to acquire material assets, then they are advised to use all those for Krishna and develop love for Krishna. Or if somebody is greedy to have something in this world and have it but use it for Krishna. Okay, like that, if somebody has anger, then use that anger as a weapon uh, for the devotees of the Lord or the Lord, not for one's own self. So, like that, there are antidotes for everything, but there is no antidote for envy. Envy is something which one has to eradicate. Oh, Krishna, I'm sorry. So, one who executes his duties according to my injunction, who follows these teachings faithfully without envy, become free from bondage of fruitive actions. Uh, this is a very nice verse. This verse gives a lot of solace that an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. So, even an ordinary person who may not be able to execute the whole thing, all the orders in completeness, but because of the firm faith, because of the nishtha, firm faith is nishtha. Shraddha is the beginning, and then Nishtha, who has reached that level of devotional service of Nishtha, can actually come out of the bondage of law of karma. It is possible. But on the other hand, a person who is with envy, Hare Krishna, and disregards this teaching, says there is no God, I am God, or whatever foolishness they say, they are bereft of all knowledge, doomed to be fooled. Everything is very, very empty for them. It appears that there is some gain, but actually, in the long run, there is no gain because um, the serpent of death is waiting for everyone. We forget, we become very, very engrossed in the secondary miseries. So, what are the secondary miseries of life? Somebody can raise their hand and tell me the secondary miseries of someone's that a living entity suffers from. What are they? Yes, Tanvi Mataji.
Mataji, birth, death. Oh, old age, birth, death, and
Primary.
disease.
Secondary miseries. Those are the primary miseries.
Can I?
False ego.
Adi bhautik, adi daivic klish.
Ah,
Adhyatmic thing.
correct. So the secondary miseries are like suffering because of one's own body and mind, suffering because of other living entities, suffering because of other higher authorities. That becomes a priority in the life of a living entity. But that is not even a priority. Okay, so it's not even a priority. It should not be. The priority is how can I stop my birth? How can I stop my death? How can I stop growing to the embarrassment of old age and disease? That should be the priority. But we make the secondary as primary, and the primary is nowhere in the life. Primary is nowhere in the life because the civilization that we are living in has no solution for the primary problems. That's why there is no talk about it. There's no talk about it. There is a okay, whatever. If you turn on your TV, the advertisements that come, what do they tell you? That you can be as youthful forever, right? Put this anti wrinkle cream on your face. or do this Botox, or take this capsule to revive your energy. You see, these are distractions. So we are actually not living in a very congenial Krishna conscious civilization. And so we remain unhappy. We start as unhappy and then we die as unhappy. Where was I reading? Oh, I was reading that Bhagavatam last night, seventh canto, that 14th chapter, the ideal family life chapter. In that, Prabhupada explains in, I think it is verse number 14. I was reading that Prabhupada is right. Prabhupada was mentioning that a person will never be able to fulfill its material propensities. So what happens that even to the last moment of death, a living entity is struggling to fulfill its material propensities, and they will never be fulfilled. So they die in a very sorry state. So this is what Shastras tell us, that if I don't take care of this, then I'm actually waiting for a very sorry death. Very, very sorry. We're very sorry that Krishna gave me a human form of life and I wasted that. Manushya janama paya ada Krishna na bhajiya janiya shunya vishab khaya. So if I don't want to have a sorry death, then I need to do something about it right now. Okay, and there's no magic. I was telling this yesterday class. Please listen to Prabhupada's lecture, first canto, third chapter, 30th verse. I'm listening to it for the fourth time in these days. Prabhupada mentions there that there is no chance. There is no chance. Everything has a cause. And as soon as we say that everything has a cause, there is always a judgment. There is a judgment attached to the cause. You see, how come I received this body? How come I am in a situation where I am in right now? What are the series of events that led me to this? There's always a cause. And if there is a cause, then there is a judgment. That's what he was explaining. Okay, so this is a very nice verse. What can repression accomplish? That he's telling Arjuna, Krishna is telling Arjuna that understood that I gave you the knowledge about the body or the soul, but you cannot really escape your psychophysical nature. It's not possible to work on the soul level without purification, because psychophysical nature is very, very strong. Trillions and trillions of birth, like same mind. We have the same mind as we came down with from Brahmajyoti. We have the same mind. Now, the same mind is carrying the impression of from one life to another life to another life. It's not easy to give up just by wanting to give up something. It's not easy. So that's what he's saying. Even a man of knowledge acts according to his own nature, for everyone follows his nature. What can repression accomplish? So we cannot repress our natural tendencies. Better to find out what I am good at in service to Krishna and engage that. So Mane, Arjuna is a Kshatriya. He's good in fighting. He cannot be a good Brahmana. He cannot be a good renunciant. There's nothing. So why don't you use your fighting skills for my service? Or this instruction is for all of us. It's for all of us that we have to find our niche in Krishna consciousness. Not everyone is same. Okay, and how do we find out that what am I good at? How do I find out? Yes, if somebody has a spiritual master, then, and if somebody is associating with the spiritual master for a longer time, then yes, the spiritual master can reveal. But in general, we find out how what I'm good at is if I am with the in the association of other devotees. The association of other devotees reveals that what I'm good at. Somebody is good in cooking, somebody is good in cleaning, somebody is good in book distribution, somebody is good in deity worship, somebody is good in writing, somebody is good in speaking. Something is there because Krishna has given talent to each one of us. Each one, we cannot disregard Krishna's gift. Actually, we can just engage it in Krishna's service better. And that is a definition of humbleness. Not that, okay, yeah, you're just unnecessarily praising me. No. Figure out what you're good at and use it in Krishna's service, and that is humbleness. Okay, better to engage it. Although without being fully in Krishna consciousness, no one should suddenly give up his prescribed duty and become a so-called yogi or transcendentalist artificially. Okay, one may be free from clutches of Maya. We cannot just copy. I just cannot copy a sannyasi lifestyle. uh, uh, I have prescribed duties towards my. The one is called Swadharma, and another is called Sanatan Dharma. Right? We have been talking about constitutional duty and conditional duty, and in conditional state of life, I need to do both. I need to do both. So Swadharma is towards one's own body and family or whatever. And Sanatan Dharma, Hare Krishna, is towards the soul. That what can I do for the soul? Who wants to read 22nd? It's a very nice verse. Who wants to read verse number 20? I'm sorry, 34. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay,
Yes,
okay. Thank
Mataji.
you. Sirisha Mataji. Yes, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Krishna.
इन्द्रियस्ये इन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषो व्यवस्थितो तयोर्न वशमागच्छेत् तौ ह्यस्य परिपन्तिनो. Sorry. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Purport. Those who are in Krishna consciousness are naturally reluctant to engage in material sense gratification. But those who are not in such consciousness should follow the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by the sense objects. For example, sex enjoyment is a necessity for the conditioned soul, and sex enjoyment is allowed under the license of marriage ties. For example, according to spiritual injunctions, one is forbidden to engage in sex relationships with any woman other than one's wife. All other women are to be considered as one's mother. But in spite of such injunctions, a man is still inclined to have sex relationships with other women. These propensities are to be curbed. Otherwise, they will be stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. As long as the material body is there, the necessities of the material body are allowed, but under rules and regulations. And yet, we should not rely upon the control of such allowances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratifications under regulations may also lead one to astray, as much as there is always the chance of an accident, even on the royal roads. Although they may be very carefully maintained, no one can guarantee that there will be no danger even on the safest road. The sense enjoyment spirit has been current a very long time, owing to material association. Therefore, in spite of regulated sense enjoyment, there is every chance of falling down. Therefore, any attachment for the regulated sense enjoyment must also be avoided by all means. But action in the loving service of Krishna detaches one from all kinds of sensory activities. Therefore, no one should try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. So, attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by the embodied beings, but one should not fall under the control. So, one should not fall under the control of senses and sense objects. Okay, we should not fall under control. Very, very clear instruction. They are stumbling blocks on the path of self realization. So very nice, right? So unrestricted sense enjoyment is a cause of material engagement. People ask, right? People ask that how come spirit soul acquired a human body or acquired any body? Well, this is a cause. There is no chance. Unrestricted sense enjoyment is the cause of material engagement. This is the cause. I told you, right? Prabhupada was mentioning and he spoke the whole lecture that there is no chance. There is a cause. How come I got it? No one is sane. Nobody who has acquired a human body, or I'm sorry, if any material body is a purified living entity. Nobody. So in that way, we are all insane because we don't belong to place where we are. But one who follows the rules and regulations of the revealed scriptures does not become entangled by sense objects. Other people are very much entangled. For example, let's say, but there is a warning here. But for example, let's say somebody likes to eat anything and everything. And they feel that they are so adjusting. Have you had the experience that people sometimes come to you, invite someone and you ask them, what do you like to eat? And they say, oh, I'm very adjusting. I can eat anything and everything. Have you had that experience in your life? I have that experience. Have you ever faced such thing that you invite someone and you ask them, what do you like to eat? And the person says, oh, I am very easygoing. I can eat anything. Yes or no?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes. Yes, Mataji.
You
Yes,
had, and
Mataji.
Yeah,
some
yeah.
people
Yes,
had.
Mataji.
Okay, so
Most of the
some,
time, yes.
so some people had that experience. Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Others can just take benefit from others' experience who did not have that. Um, right. So initially, I used to think before I came to Krishna consciousness that this person is so like simple, no, really, no demands, right? They're not very picky. But after reading all this and after coming to Krishna consciousness, I realized, my God, they are so much under the control of sense and sense object. They don't even know what they really want. My God, like that's really a problem. If I don't know what do I want, it's really a problem. You can give me anything. This means that they are still trying out. They're still trying out that what do they really want in life, or what do they really like in terms of eating. So a devotee of Krishna will never answer like this. The devotee of Krishna will have a list of what is a yes and what is a no. And somebody may think that okay, then that means that that devotee of Krishna is very picky. Yes, we are very picky. We only pick the spiritual element of this world. We disregard the material element. Yes, we are very picky. And if we are not picky, then you're not in Krishna consciousness yet. We are very picky in terms of who am I going to associate with. And there are six elements of association, right? Who will tell me? When I use the word association, that okay, I'm going to associate with this particular person, means that I'm going to do six things. So what are those six things? If anyone can revise this instruction from Upadeshamrita. Anyone can tell me? Uh,
Mataji, are you referring to Shravanam Kirtanam process?
no.
No.
Association means
Mataji.
that, yes, yes, Vidisha Mataji.
Mataji, giving prasadam and taking prasadam,
Hmm.
giving and taking gifts. I
Hmm.
remember receiving gifts, sorry, four. I don't know, I forgot the rest too. It is
Revealing one's mind in confidence
revealing
and
one's mind. Yes, yes,
and
Mataji.
hearing the other person's mind in confidence. So the word
Hare Krishna.
association means, thank you so much.
Hare
Uh,
Krishna.
the word association means all these six exchanges. Okay, so we don't associate. We give our association. We don't take the association of other people who are not on the same path as I am. We give our association. When we go out to preach, we are not looking for all these six exchanges. We mostly give. We do half the thing. We give the prasadam. We give the instruction, or we reveal the confidential instructions of the Shastras for whatever we have understood for our own sake. And also, we give the gifts, we give invitation, come, please come on Sunday, there is a love feast in the temple, come on God Purnima festival. So we are inviting, we are giving the gift. So be very careful. Okay, we don't associate, we don't sit down with non-devotees and eat prasadam. It's not the element. It's not that we hate it, it's not, but we are very I am very protective of my devotional service. Nate vidu swarthagatim hi Vishnu. And it is allowed. It's not that I'm very non-humble or whatever. Morality and spirituality are always not the same thing. Mostly they are not the same thing. Krishna is consciousness is like a cutting edge. You really have to walk on a very sharp blade. Um, and people mostly misunderstands devotees, mostly because they don't see the inner nature. Unless and until I am a devotee, I can never understand another devotee. Never. I will always misunderstand another devotee. And the problem is not that I am not a devotee. The problem is not that the other person is not a devotee. The problem is that I am not a devotee. So Vaishnava Kriya are very, very confidential. It's very confidential. But there's a warning in this verse. The warning is that, okay, Krishna conscious person or person who's on the path of Krishna consciousness is realizing that I should not come under the control of sense and sense objects, because they are the stumbling block on the self-realization. Uh, Mane, the other hidden instruction is follow the rules and regulations. But there is another confidential instruction in that instruction, and that is that don't try to satisfy your desires on the name of rules and regulations. Prabhupada has given example of the sex life, but the other example we can take is eating. Right? If somebody loves to eat and somebody says, okay, I'm going to offer everything to Krishna and then I'm going to eat, that also can be a sense enjoyment. That also can be a sense enjoyment if I am not discriminating about the amount that I eat, about the timings that I'm eating, about the kind of prasadam that I'm honoring. That also can actually lead to a problem. That's what he's saying. We should not rely upon the control of such alliances. The alliance is that you follow the rules and regulation, but should not. Strong word. Rely upon the control of such alliances. One has to follow those rules and regulations unattached to them, because practice of sense gratification under regulations may also lead one to go astray, as much as there is always a chance of accident even on the royal roads. Got it? Is this instruction clear? This is the instruction inside the instruction.
Yeah.
Mataji, like
Yes,
normally it is said that whatever we eat, we always serve to Krishna, and then we should have that as a prasadam, right? Even at home, when you
correct.
are eating anything, right? So I didn't get this point that, like for example, me, I love food. Okay, I love to eat, and normally whenever we eat something, we serve it to Krishna first. So, does it mean that we ourselves don't have the control?
No, no, it means that don't use that. Now you know that you can eat anything after you offer to Krishna. So that, but that doesn't mean that you're gonna indiscriminately use that alliance. It's an alliance, right? That okay, I can eat only prasadam, but in the category of prasadam, one should not get attached. I'm giving one example of eating. One should not get attached to just eating 24/7 on the name of eating prasadam. One still has to be
Okay, yeah, got it. That way. Okay.
okay. Okay, no one should try to be detached from, and at the same time, this instruction is mostly about the detachment. But then there is another um, instruction that don't try to get detached from Krishna conscious activities. One can learn detachment from material activities, but not from Krishna conscious activities. Okay, one should not try to be detached from Krishna consciousness at any stage of life. The whole purpose of detachment from all kinds of sense attachment is ultimately to become situated on the platform of Krishna consciousness. So one should not be detached. This is more explicitly explained in chapter 18. That Krishna renunciation, or what is the question that Arjuna asked in 18th chapter to Krishna? Which is better, renunciation or action? What is better in Krishna consciousness? Uh, renunciation or performance of the prescribed duties? What is
Prescribed
better?
duty. Prescribed duty is always better.
Yeah, so he says that renunciation is good,
Because
but there are some prescribed duties which cannot be given up at any stage of life. Cannot, even at the level of the sannyas. Sannyas is the highest order of a human life.
yes, yes.
Okay, the highest platform of human life is the sannyas. Sannyasi is supposed to be the spiritual master for everyone else in the human society. But even a sannyasi is acts of charity, sacrifice, and penance should never be given up. These three things are mentioned, that these three activities should never be given up, because these activities purify even the elevated souls. Okay, so don't try to become detached from Krishna conscious activity. One should never give up chanting Hare Krishna at any stage in life. One can never say, I have chanted enough. Okay, enough is never enough in that way. Okay, I think we can go ahead. We have some more time. Bidisha Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Shreyan Shwadharma Vidunaha Paradharmat Shwa Anushsitat Shwadharme Nidhanam Shreya Paradharmo Bhaya Vavaha. Translation: it is far better to discharge one's prescribed duties, even though they may be faulty, than another's duties. Destruction in the course of performing one's own duty is better than engaging in another's duties, for to follow another's path is dangerous. Purport: one should therefore discharge his prescribed duties in full Krishna consciousness rather than those prescribed for others. Prescribed duties complement one's psychophysical condition under the spell of the modes of material nature. Spiritual duties are as ordered by the spiritual master for the transcendental service of Krishna. Both materially or spiritually, one should stick to his prescribed duties, even up to death, rather than imitate another's prescribed duties. Duties on the spiritual platform and duties on the material platform may be different, but the principle of following the authorized direction is always good for the performer. When one is under the spell of the modes of material nature, one should follow the prescribed rules for particular situations and should not imitate others. For example, a Brahmana who is in the mode of goodness is non-violent, whereas a Kshatriya who is in the mode of passion is allowed to be violent. As such, for a Kshatriya, it is better to be vanquished following the rules of violence than to imitate a Brahmana who follows the principles of non-violence. Everyone has to cleanse his heart by a gradual process, not abruptly. However, when one transcends the modes of material nature and is fully situated in Krishna consciousness, he can perform anything and everything under the direction of a bona fide spiritual master. In that complete stage of Krishna consciousness, the Kshatriya may act as a Brahmana or a Brahmana may act as a Kshatriya. In the transcendental stage, the distinctions of the material world do not apply. For example, Vishwamitra was originally a Kshatriya, but later on he acted as a Brahmana, whereas Parashurama was a Brahmana, but later on he acted as a Kshatriya. Being transcendently situated, they could do so, but in the material world, they could not act as Brahmana or Kshatriya. This is because they were not But as long as one is on the material platform, he must perform his duties according to the modes of material nature. At the same time, he must have a full sense of Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Quite self-explanatory verse, right?
Yes.
That artificially we cannot give up our prescribed duties. But here again in the shloka itself, Krishna, this word is there, swadharma. Swadharma means conditional, one's prescribed duties. Prescribed duties are valid as long as the body is there. Okay, I when I am taking these classes, some people ask, not in this batch, but I think few batch away, somebody asked this question that I can become Krishna conscious by serving my children, right? I'm a mother, so I can very well just become Krishna conscious by serving my children. Okay, if I ask this question in this particular class, if somebody asks you this question, my duty is to serve my children, to serve my family, and that is how I go near to God. So what is your say? Yes, Harshita, I'm just going to lower your hand, but yes, you will read the next verse very quickly. We have very less time. Please raise your hand. Who wants to take this question? Um how will you speak to this mother? Okay, more hands, because Srisha Mataji and Tanvi Mataji both have spoken something in today's class. Somebody who has not spoken anything. Madhurani, yes, Madhurani.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I believe serving our family is like it's our duty. But Krishna consciousness is something which is mine and personal, because whatever I do for family, friends, or anyone, they are not going to satisfy. And if you do one mistake, they will forget all your things. So it is better. You should not be like, yeah, I'm serving you, and that is means I'm serving Krishna. They are never gonna satisfy. Is what I feel. Hare Krishna.
Okay, okay. Thank you. Well, okay, so she has an insight. So please take her point. She's saying that um, it is a prescribed duty, but it's not really a duty to oneself, because my satisfaction is not over there. Yes, Harshita, what do you wanna say?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, my understanding of this would be that, when you are born into a family, it is your dharma to whatever responsibility, duties. You do it out of love for them too. There is no force. Okay, some families may go through a force that, oh, you have to do this, but usually a mother does for her husband or her child or the parents in the house out of love. And the same love for the God also is there. So I don't think that we can put a percentage of how much you love God and how much you love family, but I think a good balance is essential. Am I right? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. And Krishna consciousness is about striking that balance. But if I may bring you back to the original question that one mother asked me in the class, that isn't it that I'm a mother and serving my children is good enough? Isn't that Krishna conscious? Isn't that going to lead me to Krishna? Because I'm doing my duty.
Children, so if she sees Krishna in her child, then isn't that somewhere mentioned that in whatever we focus and we think that this is God? Where was that story, Mataji, where the stone was nothing? Where was the stone? And then because of continuous prayers, the stone turned into God. I don't know. There was a story somewhere.
Okay. Well,
Like
I got it. So you're saying that it's, yeah, you can put your
wherever you
faith.
see God, there is God. In whomever you see God, there is God. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, one more. Sakshi Mataji, I'm sorry, you're were trying to say something. Sakshi Mataji.
Yes, Mataji, my perception is the same. Like they are also part and parcel of Krishna, and Krishna has given them to us. So we have to take care. But in the consciousness that they are Krishna's children, and we should raise them in Krishna consciousness.
Okay, thank you, Mataji. Yes, Anvaya Mataji.
Mataji, you have to raise your children in total Krishna consciousness. Teach them reads out stories to them, and every minute you must realize that, this is Krishna's child, and he has to go back to Krishna, because that is the role of a guru, or the father, or the mother in the broader term. Like, you cannot say this is my child, okay, now how other people are staying same, every day you have to give him prasadam regularly, take him to the temple, tell him Krishna stories every
So
day,
you are
and only
you're right. You're right. But I'm going to bring you back to the original question. The original question I asked was, isn't it serving my child as a mother good enough? Isn't that as same as is service to Krishna?
the
You're
answer is
telling me,
no.
okay, the answer is no from you. Okay, thank you. Okay,
Yeah.
Vasudevan Prabhu.
Yeah, the question you raised is very similar to some people saying Manava Seva is
Ah,
Ishwara.
as Madhav Seva. Yes.
Seva is Ishwara Seva. For instance, a doctor serving a leprosarium, he serves the lepers there. It's okay, it's fine. But still, it is restricted to the material part of it. But if he does it, keeping it as the service to God, as ordained by God, then the whole service has a different connotation. It becomes spiritual and more elevated. So I think it's something like that. It can be.
Okay, so you are also agreeing to disagree
Yeah.
that this is not the same. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Neha.
Uh, to the question that this lady is asking, that children, if I serve my children, I'm serving Krishna. Uh, let's take the example which you gave, that in suppose there are two aeroplanes that are flying in the air, and something happens to one aeroplane, the other cannot help it. So ultimately children will grow up and go away, while she has to serve the children because she has given birth to them. But ultimately she'll be the whole soul at the end of the day, and children will leave her, but Krishna will never leave her. So from day zero, while she's serving the children, she has to serve Krishna as well. Krishna will always remain with her.
Okay, okay. So I'm hearing a no there then. Thank you. Rima Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Mataji, I perceive that if that lady is serving, like is feeding her children, then she is doing it for Krishna. If she is buying her children clothes, she thinks, like if she perceives that she is doing everything keeping Krishna in mind, then in one way, what I feel is like she is serving Krishna by serving her children. But if she's just thinking and doing everything just according to the material benefits and not keeping Krishna in mind, like in the earlier few verses we studied, then I feel that it is a no.
Okay, thank you. Very nicely said. So the answer can be taken as Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. So the relationship that we have, for example, in this particular case, a mother and a child, is under the constraints of the time factor, right? This lady was not a mother a few years ago, but she was still existing, and it's in the and after the end of the body, this relationship will stop existing, but the soul will still exist, keep on existing, right? So that particular relationship of a mother and a child, or any relationship, is very much under the constraints of time factor. There is a past, there is a present, and then there is a future, and the future is always going to be no. It's going to end. Anything that's material is going to end. uh, so in the domain of swadharma, one has to perform duties in such a way that one actually gets elevated to their Sanatan Dharma platform. And Sanatan Dharma means that I'm eternal. So if you all are right, actually, you all are like, okay, I'm very happy you're understanding very nicely that this mother can serve the Krishna, can serve the children, but has to have Krishna in the center of that relationship, as you all said, 100% of you. But if somebody says that, okay, no, serving my family, serving my society, serving my children, serving my job, serving my parents, serving my whatever is same as serving Krishna, then that's not really a service to the soul. There's a service in the domain of the material bodily relation, which is, I'm not discarding that, I'm not saying don't do that, but it is not the same. It's not the same. It's not Sanatan Dharma. It's a swadharma, one's prescribed duty. So one's prescribed duty can lead one to Krishna consciousness if we consciously work for Krishna. In that, Krishna, this child is given to me by you, let me take care of, like Andrea Mataji was explaining how a mother can raise the child. She can still be a mother, she doesn't need to renounce. Or how a person can take care of their parents by understanding that other person is actually a property of Krishna, and I'm also a property of Krishna. Is it clear? So Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma. Out of Swadharma and Sanatan Dharma is more important. Swadharma is always subservient to the Sanatan Dharma part of one's existence. Okay, so it's not going to satisfy the soul, as Neha was saying. It's not going to satisfy. It's not going to give any satisfaction. Otherwise, why there are so many misunderstandings in the family? I have seen in America, especially, I have seen people, they don't want to go to their mothers. According to us, like mother relationship with the mother is the most pious relationship, right? We value that. But I have seen that on vacation last year, for example, in April, 3 girls drove down 9 hours. College students, 9 hours they drove from one state to Gitanagari to live in Gitanagari for 6 months. Because the college closed because of COVID, the classes were going to be online. So the American girls, and the one of the girls' mother was staying down the lane where these girls were staying. So I asked them that 9 hours, because our culture, like 20-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl is not going to leave the mother and father and drive down to live 6 months at some other place. It was very strange for me. So I asked her that your mother lived down the lane, but you chose to come to a strange place and live here for 6 months. uh, what made you do this? Why, if I may ask, like why you didn't choose to go and live with your family in this time of crisis? Why to come and live in a strange place? They didn't know Gitanagari, they were there for first time. And she answered me that to go to my mother's place is going to be my last option in my life. So even that relationship can get frustrating, which I'm seeing. Okay, let's continue. Who would like to? Harshita, you were gonna read, right?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Sai Krishna.
Arjuna Uvacha Atha Kena Prayukto Yam Papam Charati Purusha Anicham Api Varshneya Balad Iva Niyotija. Sorry, Mataji.
Niyojitaha.
Niyojitaha. Arjuna, translation. Arjuna said, O descendant of Vrishni, by what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Purport. A living entity, as part and parcel of the Supreme, is originally spiritual, pure and free from all material contaminations. Therefore, by nature, he is not subjected to the sins of the material world. But when he is in contact with the material nature, he acts in many sinful ways without hesitation and sometimes even against his will. As such, Arjuna's question to Krishna is very sanguine as to the perverted nature of the living entities. Although the living entity sometimes does not want to act in sin, he will still force to act. Sinful actions are not, however, impelled by the super soul within, but are due to another cause, as the Lord explains in the next verse.
Thank you. So immediately Arjuna asked the question that you're giving these instructions about the prescribed duty and how one can be engaged in prescribed duty and one can purify one's existence and can go to the transcendental platform. But what are the barriers, Krishna? What are the obstacles in performing the prescribed duty? Why can't I just do it? As if, and why sometimes, or what makes us deviated from prescribed duty? I know what this is right. I know this is right, but I cannot do it. Anicham balad, and I do the contrary activity against my willingness as if pushed by a force. Right? Have you had that experience? Let's say I give you a bowl full of 20 rasgullas. Okay, after eating 3 rasgullas, the stomach is full. So the intelligence says you're done. Your thing is satisfied. You're done. Hunger is satisfied. But the mind will say eat more, right? So, but intelligence is saying you're done, but the mind says eat more. So we give in to the mind and eat more, eat more, eat more until it becomes difficult to digest or take even one drop more, right? As if pushed by a force. The thingy came, the instruction came from the intelligence that enough is enough. That's what he's asking. Anicham and balad are the two keywords in this particular verse. Without desiring, as if pushed by a force. What happens? What is it? What is it, Krishna? What is one impelled? By what is one impelled to sinful acts, even unwillingly, as if engaged by force? Why can't I do the right thing? So, what is it? So, that's what Krishna is going to answer. Yes, let's go over this. Who wants to read? Very quickly, because my other class is going to start. We don't have. Yes, Sharmila Mataji, Hare Krishna. You are in India now, Sharmila Mataji? I can't hear you. You're unmuted. Tanvi Mataji, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, Mataji. Shri Bhagavan Kamesha Krodha Esha Rajo Guna Samudha Bhava Mahasano Mahapapma Vidhi Enam Ihaverinam. Translation: The blessed Lord said, "It is lust only, Arjuna, which is born of contact with the material modes of passion and later transformed into wrath, and which is the all-devouring sinful enemy of this world." Purport: When a living entity comes in contact with the material creation, his eternal love for Krishna is transformed into lust in association with the mode of passion. Or, in other words, the sense of love of God becomes transformed into lust as milk in contact with sour tamarind is transformed into yogurt. Then again, when lust is unsatisfied, it turns into wrath. Wrath is transformed into illusion, and illusion continues the material existence. Therefore, lust is the greatest enemy of the living entity, and it is lust only which induces the pure living entity to remain entangled in the material world. Wrath is the manifestation of the mode of ignorance. These modes exhibit themselves as wrath and other corollaries. If therefore the modes of passion, instead of being degraded into the modes of ignorance, are elevated to the modes of goodness by the prescribed method of living and acting, then one can be saved from the degradation of wrath by spiritual attachment. The Supreme Personality of Godhead expanded himself into many for his ever increasing spiritual bliss, and the living entities are parts and parcels of this spiritual bliss. They also have partial independence, but by misuse of their independence, when the service attitude is transformed into the propensity for sense enjoyment, they come under the sway of lust. This material creation is created by the Lord to give a facility to the conditioned souls to fulfill these lustful propensities. And when they are completely baffled by prolonged lustful activities, the living entities begin to inquire about their real position. This inquiry is the beginning of the Vedanta Sutras, wherein it is said, Athato Brahm Jignasa. One should inquire into the Supreme, and the Supreme is defined in Srimad Bhagavatam as Janmadhyasya Yato Nyavad Itaratascha, or the origin of everything is the Supreme Brahmana. Therefore, the origin of lust is also in the Supreme. If therefore lust is transformed into love for the Supreme, or transformed into Krishna consciousness, or in other words, desiring everything for Krishna, then both lust and wrath can be spiritualized. Hanuman, the great servitor of Lord Rama, engaged his wrath upon his enemies for the satisfaction of the Lord. Therefore, lust and wrath, when they are employed in Krishna consciousness, become our friends instead of our enemies. Thank
Very
you.
nice. Thank you, Mataji. So Krishna answers it is lust only, Arjuna. Prahlad Maharaj says that in in seventh canto Srimad Bhagavatam, that who is a biggest enemy of a living entity, and the answer he gives is that it is one's own mind. Uncontrolled mind is the biggest enemy. We think, uh, at least I used to think before I read that this particular person is my enemy, or this particular situation in my life is non conducive, or this particular thing is my enemy. But after reading that and after hearing Prabhupada's lecture, I am changing. Actually, there is no other enemy. No one can do anything to me unless and until my own mind is my enemy. So actually, there is no other enemy. My mind is keeping me in this material world forever. Forever. It's not about other person, it's not about other situation. We try to blame other person, other situation, or other something in our life because it's easier to do that. It's easier. Okay, because if we take the responsibility, then we have to work on it. And I don't want to go there, right? I don't want to go to the hard road of working on myself. It's you change yourself, then my life will be better. You are the one making my life worse. You change. For example, if somebody is thinking that they deserve to be, this is the most common thing I face, they deserve to be treated better by other people. The conditioned soul wants some sort of respect, right? Or respect. So they think, okay, if you learn how you can treat me better, then I'm okay. It's you, actually it's you who does not know how to treat me better. So I'm suffering because of you. I am suffering. If you treat me better, then I will not suffer. Does it sound familiar what I'm talking about? Have you had that experience? I had this experience gazillion times now. Have you had that experience or no?
Yes, Mataji.
Yes,
Yes.
Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
That
Yes,
situation.
Maharaj.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes, right. So each one, even children, I see that have this. So it's not really, but Krishna consciousness is about working on ourselves. Why am I expecting, or what makes one expect some sort of a respect from other is because I think high of myself. I think that I deserve to be respected, and I need to get what I deserved, and you are supposed to give me what I deserve. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Trinadapi sunichena, taroriva sahishnuna, amanina mandena, kirtanya sadahari. Give respect to a person who does not even deserve respect, and don't expect any respect. Krishna consciousness is not about thinking less of oneself. It's not about thinking less of oneself. It's about thinking less about oneself. Think less about yourself. Think more about, like, what can you do about the soul and not the body and mind. People suffer, and then they cannot see the pattern, that actually there is a pattern in their life right there, that every situation, every relation, every person that they come across is a cause of misery to them. And this is the cause of misery. Oh my God. When will I ever find a person who will give me my deserved respect? Everybody I meet is so mean to me, right? But actually, the problem is not them. The problem is not the other person. The problem is them. They are creating a life. Man is an architect of its own destiny. That particular living entity is creating a life of frustration for its own self. As much as Prabhupada gives the example of a cocoon, of a silkworm. Silkworm does not know how to, it makes a cocoon, but then doesn't know how to come out of it. In a way, it is a nature's law, but then the study of the Shastras is that it makes it but doesn't know how to come out of it. So, this particular living entity makes this life of entanglement around itself but doesn't know how to come out of it anymore. And why? How did it happen? It happened because of lusty desire. What was the lusty desire? I deserve to be treated better. You give it to me. I deserve. And this particular propensity actually pushes people away, far away, far away. They lose everything because they have lost their self. Yesterday night, we were having a discussion about this with one of the senior devotees. She's Prabhupada's disciple. She was taking a class and she was explaining this point that uh, people who came to Krishna consciousness under direct supervision of Srila Prabhupada were made to work so hard. She was telling us that in Bhaktivedanta manner, she's American, Ramguru Mataji said, we used to, the grihastas would get small, small rooms with one mattress on the floor. And whole day, the husband and wife are busy working for the movement, whole day. And in the night they would just come and flop, and then next morning it starts again. So sometimes Prabhupada used to take the tour of grihastha ashram, like how's that ashram been maintained, and he would see none of the rooms were really clean because none of them really had time to do anything for their own self. And Prabhupada used to say, she was telling us last night only, that this is a good life. It's not that a grahastha is very much engaged in making their life house so good as a Hiranyakashipu's palace. This is a good life. They're very busy in serving Krishna. They have no time to work on this. So, and I have actually had the fortune of seeing such devotees. I know, I live with them. When I get a chance, I go and live with these devotees. Um, that I see that they don't, otherwise, because if I'm not coming out as a very organized person, then I don't, then automatically we will get less respect from people around us, because organized people get more respect, but they don't see the organization in that chaos. Am I making sense? We have no other enemy other than our uncontrolled mind. There is no other enemy. And if the person is finding so many enemies around themselves, then it's probably because of their own uncontrolled mind. The work has to be done from within, not without. And when we do that work, we can change everything. All these lusty propensities to Krishna's service, as much as the milk in the touch of in contact with tamarind can get converted to yogurt. We were made by Krishna for his enjoyment. This is what it is. Expanded himself into many of his everlasting spiritual bliss. So we are created for that particular purpose. The sooner we realize it, the better it is for my own sake. And the material creation, now it started with lust. Lust is a product of mode of passion. And lust means anything that I desire for my own satisfaction. Anything. I want to go check out that restaurant down the lane. That's lust because it's not offered to Krishna. I have 10 saris, I want 11th. Just because I just want, not that I need. That's lust. Okay, beyond need is greed, right? That's what it is. And that greed is coming from passion, mode of passion. I want, I want, I want. And that is never going to be satisfied. Never going to be satisfied. Then what happens? It's never going to be satisfied. Then the lust degrades itself from mode of passion to mode of ignorance and becomes the wrath, anger. Anger is a product of mode of ignorance, and from anger illusion comes, and illusion means a person, then illusory identity of I am the body keeps the living entity in the material world. As long as one wants, they can go on with this cycle. Okay, so if I come in touch with the person who is like this, and if I don't have a relationship that I can actually sit down and talk to other person about it, better to ignore them. Don't play with the fire. Better to ignore them. Just carry on with your own spiritual journey, and just pray to Krishna for that particular person and just keep moving. The whole world is waiting. 7 billion people are there on the planet. Just keep moving. Okay, there is origin of lust in Krishna, but that lust is actually in real sense is actually love for Krishna. So we can engage our lusty and wrath propensities in Krishna's service, and then they become our friend. Prabhupada is writing an example of Hanuman. Hanuman was very angry, but he used his anger upon the enemies of Lord Rama, and he's worshipped for that. Okay, I guess we close here. Next week, Sunday, can we meet at 3 p.m. and we'll start from verse 38. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
Mataji.
Does
Yes,
Mataji.
anyone
Mataji.
has
Yes, yes.
anyone has any questions? So today what we did, we started from verse number 34. What can repression accomplish? This is one of my favorite verses. What can repression accomplish? Is 33. And then one has to regulate the sense and sense objects, because if we don't regulate, then it becomes a stumbling block in the path of self-realization. We cannot just do anything and everything. There's a need for regulation. And I discussed Prabhupada's lecture that I was hearing, that everything has a cause, and as soon as we say everything has a cause, it means that
Mataji, can you say which video you were listening to, Prabhupada's? Which?
no, that's Prabhupadvani.org. I was listening to the lecture 1 3:30, first canto, third chapter, 30th verse. And when we say everything has a cause, immediately it means that there is a judgment. Okay. And then we studied this, that better to perform one's prescribed duty, even though with fault, but than to follow someone else's path. Oh, this is like, but this gives rise to envy, because there's always going to be someone better than me in something else. You see, I am not a good, for example, I'm not a good decorator. I don't have that kind of a mind that finds skills where I can make very nice flower garlands or very nice decorations on the altar. But I know devotees who are very nice. You give them 10 flowers, they'll make such nice arrangements you cannot even think. So if I think, oh, how did they do that? How come I don't do that? So how did they do that is a result of envy in the heart. And envy, we have discussed many times, is I like what you have, but I don't like the fact that you have it. So this kind of a propensity of finding fault everywhere, or finding this how, not with the intention to learn, but with the intention to put myself in a superior situation, it leads to a lot of drainage of one's energy in a wrong direction. One feels always tired. That person will suffer from something called chronic fatigue syndrome. Always very, very tired. People say that I'm very tired all the time. Yeah, you're tired because you have so many anarthas in your consciousness. Srila Prabhupada, we don't see he's ever tired. See, 80-year-old person, 88-year-old person is not tired traveling all over the world. How come he's not tired? Because he's free. Spirit means light. Because he has no anarthas in the consciousness. Okay, so this is how to. You have to stop and you have to figure out what you're good at. Because you will be good at something because Krishna has given you. And then you can use that particular element in Krishna's service and purify your own existence. Then Arjuna immediately asked that what makes us do activity, sinful activity, as if impelled by a force, even though unwillingly. And Krishna answers it is lust only, which is born out of contact with material mode of passion and later transformed into wrath. And wrath is the enemy of, in the mode of ignorance. Okay. Any questions? Very quickly. We have like 3 minutes before we close. Any questions, anyone?
The one of my favorite verses. Sorry, I
Yes.
didn't raise my hand. Just one line. 6.5 of Bhagavad Gita is one of my favorite verses because it says, "Mind is my best friend and mind is my enemy." So that's the
Yes.
only verse I remember.
Very nice. But mind is an enemy only right now. Okay. Don't get confused that mind is sometimes my best friend, sometimes my enemy. No, right now it is just an enemy. Don't think it is a friend ever. It is never a friend right now.
Okay.
Tanvi Mataji, you had a question? Yes, Mataji, very quickly. Tanvi Mataji.
Sorry, I was on mute. So, Mataji, like we have talked about tolerance and compassion, envy, these things. So, all these things come from Krishna, right? He possessed these qualities somewhere.
Of course, yes, you're right.
So when we talk about envy, I was just thinking, like anger. We have studied in the pastimes of Krishna that Krishna has also shown anger somewhere. That it comes from him. He has shown it towards Shishupal and other, asuras that were there in his pastimes. So does he depict envy also in any of his
No,
pastimes?
envy is a special prerogative of a conditioned soul. Especially A conditioned soul is blessed with this characteristic. And envy, actually, in literal sense, if you think that, it really means that it tells me that what I really want in my life. If you really dissect that emotion, I recently came across this emotion. The word emotion means feeling that puts one in motion. So if somebody can really connect with their enviousness in a very pure sense, it really will tell you what you really want. Okay, so it's a special prerogative of the conditioned soul. When one forgets Krishna, then one develops all these glamorous characteristics. I don't come
So,
across envy.
so Mataji, like you said, there is no antidote for envy.
Mm.
So, I mean, can we get rid of it? I
Yes, of
find it
course.
very hard.
Well, yes, of course, we can get. That is why it is brought up. Nothing is brought up in the shastras which cannot be taken care of. Shastras are not like material things. Yes, of course. And how do we do that? We Let's say that I am very envious of a devotee who is very shastrik. It actually means that I want to be shastrik, right? Literally, it really means that I want to be like that. But yes, of course, we can actually consciously, at least in the mind, when I see that particular devotee, I can pay them obeisances. I pay obeisances that thank you so much for serving Krishna with this particular characteristic that you're cultivating. Try it. It works. Okay.
Mataji,
Plus
thank you.
chanting Hare Krishna helps, and plus praying to Krishna. Krishna, I have this block in my life and it's restricting me from coming to you. Please help me. Krishna will help. Yes, Rashmi Mataji.
Mataji, the thing which you said of yesterday's class, with yesterday night's class, I mean, you said that you heard from a devotee. Say, I didn't understand that part. The house not being clean and how it is related.
No. That was Srila Prabhupada's time. She's Prabhupada's disciple. So she was telling us about Prabhupada's pastime, that when they grihastas, when the married couples, how they were living when they were serving the movement in 1970s in UK Bhaktivedanta manner. They were given small rooms, the husband and wife, and the room will only have one mattress on the floor. That's it. No other commodities or and nothing. So sometimes, and she said we never had time to even clean that small room because we were always very busy with the movement. We were very busy with the temple projects. So we would only come back in the night to crash on the bed, and then morning get up again and start again all over. So we really never had time to come and take care of that particular small room with one mattress also. So Prabhupada sometimes used to do inspection of the place where Grihasthas used to live. And Prabhupada, when he used to look at the rooms, they were not kept well. He said that, yes, this is good. Gayatri Mataji, we can stop recording. Thank you.